What's going on, YouTube? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Texas Street Stories. And if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, help your boy out and hit the subscribe button. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Rodolfo Alvarez Medrano, a Tri-City bomber gang member. It's also going to be called Tri-City Bomber Goes to War with its Texas Chicano Brotherhood over the streets of Edinburg, Texas. In August 2005, Medrano was convicted of a capital murder committed by numerous co-defendants. The charge was based on Medrano's alleged participation in a conspiracy to commit an armed robbery that resulted in the death of 6 people. The evidence at the guilt phase showed that Rosie Gutierrez lived with her sons Ray Hidalgo and Jerry Eugene Hidalgo at 2915 East Monte Cristo Road in Edinburg. There were 2 houses on the property, hereinafter referred to as the West Side House and the East Side House. Rosie testified that she and her sons played dominoes in the kitchen of the West Side House on the evening of Saturday, January 4th, 2003. At about 12:20 a.m., Ray went to the East Side House with his friend Juan Delgado Jr. Shortly thereafter, Rosie and Jerry went into the living room where she watched some TV and Jerry talked on the phone with a friend. She heard some loud noises that sounded like fireworks and then heard a loud banging on her front door. 4 or 5 men barged into the house wearing jackets with the word police on them. All but one of the men were wearing ski masks. The unmasked man used a telephone cord to tie her up, and a masked man with a big gun demanded money, gold, drugs, and jewelry. Jerry responded that they did not have anything. The masked man then hit Jerry repeatedly with his gun, ordered that he be tied up in the kitchen with electrical cords, and yanked off a gold chain that Jerry was wearing. The man took off one of Jerry's shoes and asked if anybody wanted it, then dropped it. He then said, "Let's go," and the intruders left. He came back into the house and ransacked the living room, left, came back inside again, fatally shot Jerry, and then left again. After he left the last time, Rosie untied herself and called 911. Shortly after 1 a.m., police were dispatched to the scene in reference to a Pasado cop robbery. They found Jerry's body lying on the floor of the kitchen of the West Side House. He had sustained gunshot wounds to his back, his hands and legs were bound with extension cords, and he had a tattoo that indicated that he was a member of the Texas Chicano Brotherhood gang. Police also found spent .762 39mm caliber casings on the floor. In the living room of the West Side House, drawers were on the floor and tables were turned over. A mattress had been left standing upright on one of the rooms. Edinburg police officer Ramirez Ruiz testified that it looked like someone had gone through the residence looking for something. Police found the body of Juan Delgado III lying face down in the grass outside the East Side House. There was a live 9mm round in the grass near his body. Inside the East Side House, police found the bodies of Juan Delgado Jr. and Jimmy Almendarez in the front room, and the bodies of Ray and Ruben Castillo in another room. All have sustained fatal gunshot wounds. Ballistic evidence in the East Side House included spent 39mm caliber casings and live 39mm caliber and 9mm rounds. The house had been ransacked and there was broken sheetrock in one of the rooms. Some of the victim's pants pockets had been pulled out. An area behind the house was covered with tall grass and concrete rubble. In this area, police found a beanie cap that belonged to one of the co-conspirators, a cell phone and a charger that belonged to Ruben Castillo, and some letters and photographs that belonged to Rosie, Jerry, and Ray. A car parked at the scene belonged to Luis Villa. Police found Villa at a motel in Edinburg on January the 7th. Villa reported that he was present at the time of the murders and that he had escaped the East Side house by jumping out a window. He was not charged in connection with the offense. On January 13th, police received an anonymous tip that led them to investigate Guadalupe Boncanegra, a member of the Tri-City Bombers gang. Guadalupe, who was not present at the scene of the murders, gave police information that led them to two more suspects. Guadalupe's brother Marcelo Bonguera Marshall was arrested on January 15th, followed by Medrano Creeper, Humberto Garza Gallo, Robert Jean Garza Bones, and Juan Cordova Juanon on January 24th. Later, the police arrested Juan Ramirez Ram, Jorge Espinoza Martinez Cochi, Robert Cantu Robbie, Salvador Solis Little Sal, Raymond Sacado Quito, and Jeffrey Suarez Dragon. David Valdez, an identification technician with the Edinburg Police Department, testified about the search of Medrano's residence and truck. Medrano lived in a second-story apartment with his in-laws, lived in the main house on the property. Items that were seized from the inside Medrano's apartment, including books about guns and police radio frequencies, a walkie-talkie, a scanner, money inside a video case, other money wrapped in rubber bands, and Medrano's laptop, computer, and wallet. Medrano's wallet contained lists of names and numbers that Officer Valdez opinion might refer to the commissary fund for certain inmates. It also contained a list of police scanner frequency codes for Edinburg and the surrounding cities. Inside the residence of Medrano's in-laws, police found a computer tower that contained a loaded gun and more lists of names and numbers similar to the ones in Medrano's wallet. Inside Medrano's pickup truck, police found money in an envelope addressed to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Inmate Trust Fund, more money in the center console, deposit slips, and money orders for the TVCJ Inmate Trust Fund, and 4 walkie-talkies in a black bag inside the truck toolbox. A forensic examiner at the Department of Public Safety Crime Laboratory in Austin searched various computer items found at Medrano's residence for evidence of gang activity or homicide. After performing a keyword search on multiple hard drive CDs and diskettes, he recovered a letter and to-do list that contained gang nicknames. The letter was apparently written by Medrano to a jail inmate, and that to-do list apparently referred to getting a list of gang members who were in the same section at the county jail. Miguel Angel Tejado, Medrano's childhood friend, testified that Medrano came to his house sometime after the murders and asked him to hold something for him. Medrano gave him a rectangular case and left. Tejado looked inside in case that it saw it contained 2 or 3 rifles. The next day, Tejado put the case in the trunk of a car at his father's residence near Elsa. When he opened the trunk, he saw that the other weapons had already been placed there. Tejado testified that Medrano knew where the keys to the vehicle were kept. Police searched the trunk of the vehicle and found ammunition, several firearms, and 2 gun cases. Laden prints on both gun cases matched Medrano's fingerprints. One of the fingerprints found in the trunk, a burgundy SKS, had a blood stain on its muzzle that was consistent with the DNA profile of Juan Delgado Jr. One of the gun cases contained 3 guns: a black SKS Norinco 39mm rifle, a second black SKS Norinco, and a green SKS Norinco. A Insect firearms and tool marks examiner at the DPS crime lab in Austin analyzed the ballistics evidence. He determined that the state's exhibit had fired a bullet recovered from the body of Ruben Castillo, 4 bullets recovered from the body of Jerry Hidalgo, and many of the other bullets, casings, and fragments found at the scene. He further determined that the state's exhibit 107 had fired a bullet casing that was found in the Eastside house. On January 25, Medrano gave an audio tape statement to Detective Ray Ramirez of the Edinburg Police Department. Medrano admitted that he was member of the Tri-City Bomber, Bombitas. He stated that he and Juanon were sergeants in the gang and that Gallo was a captain. He stated that Gallo called him on Saturday and said that he needed some weapons. Medrano was to transport the guns to Juanon's house. I got a call saying they needed the weapons. I told them I needed somebody to pick them up because me and my wife were going to go out and I already had made plans. And he said he would send somebody over. And they got later and it was about 8 o'clock and nobody got there. So I told him I could take them to Juanon's house. I took them to Juanon's house and just dropped them off there in one of their bedrooms. After he dropped off the weapons, Medrano called Gallo and reported that the weapons were already at Juanon's house and that he was on his way to McAllen. Medrano went out with his wife that night, returning home around 12:30 a.m., and they stayed up late watching movies. The next morning, another gang member called him. Joe Lee Gonzalez called him asking me if I heard what happened. I told him I didn't, so he tells me never mind, that we would talk about it later. And that's when I knew something bad had happened. That evening, Medrano saw the news, and I knew what happened, They had killed 6 guys. Medrano said that he thought that they were just going to go steal some marijuana, some pounds. When Detective Ramirez asked him how many pounds, he said he thought it was about 500. He added, when they first called me, they asked me if I wanted to go, and I told them no, because I never done something like that. I don't do that, Medrano further stated that about 2 p.m. on Sunday, Juanon called him and said that he did not want the guns at his house anymore. Medrano and his wife were in Harlingen at the mall, so he sent his friend Gilbert Gonzalez to retrieve the guns. Gilbert Gonzalez dropped the guns off at Medrano's porch. When Medrano returned home about 7 or 8 p.m., he cleaned the guns. All through, they weren't even dirty because they partly had already cleaned them. He said there were 3 rifles that were SKS, and 2 of them were black and 1 was green. Medrano explained that he had bought the guns at a gun show in early 2000 for about $300 each. He acknowledged that the sale was done under the table and that he had not registered the weapons. Medrano stated that he kept the weapons until police arrested Marcial Bonguera and everything came out in the news. Medrano then called Tejado and ordered him to come over to his house and pick up the 3 guns in the case. Medrano told Tejado to destroy the guns if Medrano was ever arrested. Medrano explained that some girl named Melissa started everything. She had gone to the house on Monte Cristo, had seen a large amount of marijuana, and told a man named Robert. Melissa and Robert then told Cocho. Detective Ramirez asked Medrano who had given the order to go ahead and steal the marijuana. Medrano replied, Gallo. Medrano explained that Gallo gets orders from Jeffrey Juarez, a major in the gang who lives in Sugarland, but the Gallo would not necessarily have had to get the permission for Juarez to give an order. Medrano said that Bones was a shooter, that Gallo was driving around with Juanon, that he thought Cocho was in another vehicle, and that others at the scene, including Ricardo, Marcial Bonguera, Quito, Perro, Sal, and Juan Ramirez. Detective Ramirez questioned him further. That was the ripoff, right? In other words, they got the information from Melissa and Robert, and they got the order and decided to go and hit these guys and rip them off their drugs, right? Right? Yes. That's how it's supposed to have happened. That's how it's supposed to happen. Nobody was supposed to have gotten shot. Okay, but something went wrong and people started shooting, right? Yes, sir. When Detective Ramirez asked Medrano who would profit from the endeavor, Medrano said, I guess everybody involved was going to get something. He explained that they generally put a percentage into the treasury and that he was the treasury. Detective Ramirez asked Medrano what went wrong, and Medrano said the Bombitas had found letters indicating the victims could be members of the Texas Chicano brothers, enemies of the Bombitas. So they decided to kill them. He thought that the co-conspirators later burned the letters or threw them away. Detective Ramirez also asked Medrano what he knew about the shootings in Donna. Medrano said it was a hit gone bad. Medrano explained that Carlos Rodriguez, a jail lieutenant in the Tri-City Bombers, had ordered a hit on a bar owner in Donna because she was the main witness in an attempted murder case against him. Rodriguez ordered the hit from the county jail. Bones, Snoop, and Ricardo carried it out, but they were all messed up and killed the witnesses by mistake, and killed the waitresses by mistake, Medrano stated. We were all upset because Carlos Rodriguez just jumped the gun, without even consulting with Gal. He explained everything gets messed up when there is no chain of command. Detective Robert Alvarez of the Edinburg Police Department testified that the Tri-City Bombers and the Texas Chicano brothers were rival gangs. He confirmed that Medrano and the co-conspirators Bombitas and the victims Ray and Jerry Eugene Hidalgo were Chicanos. He testified that the two gangs had a green light, which is standing order to represent that gang every time they see each other. He explained that the green light gives members authority without asking permission to do whatever is necessary to represent their gang, including murder. He stated this particular green light has existed for years, and that anyone in the gang would be aware of any green light against any other gang. At the punishment phase, the state introduced Medrano's statement to the investigator, Juan Cifuentes of the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Department, in which Medrano explained his gang involvement and his knowledge of the Donna shootings in more detail. Medrano explained that he had become friends with gang members in high school and that he had officially become an active member of the Bombitas in 1999. He explained that active membership involves staying in constant contact with members who are in prison, as well as members who are not in prison, attending mandatory meetings and obeying every order handed down by higher ranking members. He stated that Carlos Rodriguez Rocha was arrested for shooting a man who was related to a rival gang member named Coco at Garcia's bar. The rival responded by shooting at Rocha's house, and Rocha retaliated in the same fashion when he was out on bond. Rocha told Medrano beforehand that he was going to take care of business, and Medrano understood that meant that Rocha was going to shoot them. Medrano explained that Rocha turned himself in after retaliating against the rival gang. While Rocha was in the Hidalgo County Jail awaiting trial, he ordered the Bombitas to kill Coco and a female witness. But Medrano explained, we saw no reason to kill these people. If Rocha was going to plead out, Rocha then acted on his own to have the bar owner killed, enlisting the help of Bones, Snoop, Ricardo, Lupio, and Chito. Medrano stated that Bones, Snoop, and Ricardo followed the wrong car home and killed the wrong people. Ricardo wanted to call the killings off because it was the wrong car, but Bones and Snoop said they were true members and the job was going to be done one way or another. Medrano stated that he called Lupio after the Donna shootings and asked him about the weapons. Lupio told him that the Medrano weapons were used in the shootings, but they were in good hands, and that he would return them to Medrano as soon as possible. Medrano stated that 2 or 3 weeks passed and Lupio failed to return the weapons, so he went and got them. He picked up a Tech 9 from Smiley's apartment in McAllen and picked up 2 SKS rifles later because they were in Mission, Texas. Medrano explained Rocha did not follow the chain of command, and no one knew that these killings were going to be carried out. Medrano stated that he got his sergeant stripes at a mandatory gang meeting in September 2002, at which it was mentioned that the killings in Donna had been carried out and that there was no link to us. Humberto Garza, El Gallito, told everyone that this job was for Roach. Investigators Fuentes testified that some of Medrano's weapons, which included the gun used in the Donna killings and other guns and ammunition, were later recovered from the residence of Pena's grandmother. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Texas Street Stories. And if you haven't already subscribed, help your boy out and hit that subscribe button.